guys are good.
All right, thanks. Good evening, everybody. Thanks for joining us. We'll call to order the regularly scheduled virtual meeting of the Alcoholic Beverage Control Board. Today is Wednesday, the 2nd of December, 2020, and it is 7:03 p.m. Board members present. We have Vice Chairman Lawrence Harris, Dick Peterson, Kia Baskerville, Elizabeth Conger, and my name's Jimmy Praley. Also present, we have the City Attorney Michael Lyles, and we have Deputy City Clerk Cynthia Gaines. Has the board reviewed the minutes of November 4th, 2020? And if so, any additions or corrections?
I have a correction. This is on page 6 of the minutes. It's about the seasonal extension of licensed premises to the Eastport Democratic Club. I move that this correction be made, and that the line that reads, request for a seasonal extension of licensed premises outside garden area with consumption of alcoholic beverages should read from November 2020 through the period during which the City of Annapolis operates under the state of emergency code. That's how the letter read to the board when it was approved.
Okay.
Second the motion.
All right, the motion to amend the minutes has been moved and seconded. All those in favor?
Aye.
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 Okay. Motion passes. The minutes will be amended as stated by Member Peterson. Cindy, did you get all that?
I did, sir. Thank you.
Okay, great, thanks. So with that amendment, do I hear a motion to approve the minutes as amended?
So moved, Mr. Chairman.
Okay, moved in second. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 All right, with that amendment, the minutes are then approved. Before we get into our regular business, again, for the record, I want to state that since this is a virtual hearing, anybody wishing to submit public testimony may do so by way of written testimony to be submitted as a part of the official record. Anybody who wishes to submit written testimony may do so by going to www.annapolis.gov/ABC. All right, on to business before the board tonight. First item of agenda, we'll declare the public hearing open. We have an application for a transfer of an alcoholic beverage license by DF Shika Inc., trading as Shika Sushi and Ramen. The application is for a transfer of a Class B2 beer and light wine only with meals, 6 a.m. to 12 midnight, 7 days per week, with a special Sunday license by Brenda Kraus, Hui Dong, Meng Ting Fang for the premises known as DF Shika Inc., trading as Shika Sushi and Ramen, located at 509 South Cherry Grove Avenue, Suite D, Annapolis, Maryland, 21401. And who do we have here representing DF Shika Inc.?
You're on mute, ma'am.
是打电话听不见，他听不见。你看工作室他们都是关着的，你打个电话，你打服务电话2404828。Could you guys just a second? Let me call my lawyer too.
Looks like she's off mute now.
Okay, yeah. All right. So who's representing the applicant? You can state the record, please.
Oh yeah, my name is Yugu. I'm representing the applicant DF Shika Incorporated.
Okay. Great. Now, anybody who's planning on testifying, please raise your right hand so I can administer the oath. Okay. Ms. Kraus, if you're planning on testifying, please raise your right hand as well. You solemnly swear and affirm under the penalties of perjury that the testimony you are about to give is true and correct.
Yes.
Yeah.
Thank you. And now if we can get the names and addresses of everybody who's here for the record, starting with Ms. Kraus. Spell your full name. Well, we have it listed, but if you could still spell your full name and give us your address, please.
Brenda Kraus, Brenda Krause. My address is 190 Eastern Road, Pasadena, Maryland, 21122.
Okay. And Ms. Fang, same thing.
Okay. My name is Menting Fan. MENGTINGFANG. My address is 2440 Concrete Court, Herndon, Virginia 20171.
Okay, thank you. And then is the other licensee present or prospective licensee Hui Dong? Great.
Dong.
Same thing. If I could just get name, full spelling of name and address for the record, please.
My name is Hui Dong, and my address
就是你要拼 HUI
HURDONG. My
address.
same.
The address is 244. Sorry, his address 2440 Concrete Court, Herndon, Virginia 20171.
Okay, great. Thank you. Council, please begin your presentation.
Okay. Good evening, board members and the city council, and Ms. Gaines, good evening to you too. Yeah, as I said, I am representing DF Shika Incorporation with trade name Shika Sushi and Ramen for an alcoholic beverage license transferred from New Matsu Sushi to my client. And Ms. Brenda Krause, who is a licensee in the current license, will keep staying on the transferred license. And we have a translator tonight here. His name is Mr. Jian Chen. He will be responsible for the translation between you and the two applicants in English and Chinese Mandarin. My client, Menting Fan and Hui Dong, they can say some English, but maybe not all to your questions. So if they need, please allow them to use the interpreter.
Sure, thank you.
Thank you, yeah. The DF Shika Incorporation is a Japanese cuisine restaurant, which is primarily the same style as the previous restaurant, New Matsu Sushi. They both serve famous Japanese food, sushi. In addition, my client expanded the menu and added more food, such as different types of ramen. They also have an izakaya bar, and the food and alcoholic beverage in the restaurant are served with the best ingredient at an affordable price. The alcoholic beverage license we applied for will certainly help the restaurant's business and diversify the restaurant industry in the city of Annapolis and eventually benefit the local people. Actually, the local people liked the food in the new restaurant. My client opened this new restaurant about a month ago, November 1st, and already earned a reputation. Today, I searched on Google, and the restaurant is rated 4.3 out of 5 stars. And in my view, as a new restaurant, it is quite an achievement, especially during this hard time caused by the pandemic. And I believe the restaurant will be prosperous as time goes by. The restaurant is located in a quite small shopping center at 509 South Cherry Grove Avenue. There are sufficient parking lots for the restaurant's customers. As of today, my client has obtained the restaurant trader's license, MD sales and use tax license, and a food service facility operation license. But there are still 3 issues remaining to be resolved. The first one is the zoning approval form. That form was approved, conditioned on further inspection. My client has fixed all problems listed in the city use inspection report and is currently waiting for the city's final inspection. And they already urged the city to do a inspection as soon as possible, but no specific date yet. And the second issue is the Maryland state sales and use taxes owed to the city or to the state. I talked to Ms. Gaines this afternoon. This old taxes is owed by the previous restaurant, but as we know, this issue needs to be resolved. Otherwise, the license would not be issued. So I notified my client, and they will contact the previous restaurant owner and urge them to pay it as soon as possible to fix that problem. The third issue is the approval of food menu issue. My client had an appointment with the state health department yesterday, December 1st. But for reasons unknown to my client, the specialist in the health department did not show up for the appointment. So later they rescheduled. They rescheduled the appointment to December 8th, 2020 at 11:30 for the approval of the food menu. So I think, if everything goes smoothly, I think all those 3 issues should be resolved pretty soon. And another issue is we have obtained a preliminary administrative approval of our interim alcoholic license management agreement on October 19, 2020. I want to tell you that my client does not have intention to purchase or sell any alcoholic beverage before they obtain their own license. So even if we have this temporary management agreement for the alcoholic beverage license, they still have no intention to purchase and sell. And they already removed all those alcoholic beverage to a safe closet, I think in the restaurant, not in the regular bar section. They all moved that way. Yeah. And the other thing is the sign for public hearing notice has been posted on the premises since November 11, 2020. And I mailed the public hearing notice to the abutting property owners within 200 feet on November 12, 2020. And as to the legal advertisement, my client paid the fee on November 10th, 2020. I believe at this time, the result of the legal advertisement should be returned to Ms. Gaines, right? Ms. Gaines.
Right.
Yeah. So that's all the issues I present to you now. And for the applicant's manager is Ms. Menting Fan, and she will be primarily responsible for the questions any of your members or city council have for her. I would supplement if you wish me to add some additional information you need to know.
Okay. Thank you. Do any members of the board have any questions about this transfer request? No questions? Okay.
No, I don't.
I'm going to say just the regular questions, alcohol training, reading the rules and regulations of the City of Annapolis Alcohol Board, just the standard questions.
Dick, you want to ask them specifically?
Yes. My first question is, are you and whoever's going to be serving the alcohol tips trained?
I think it's me.
And have you read the rules and regulations?
Yes, I do.
Thank you.
How many staff members do you currently employ in the restaurant?
We have to include me, have 2 waiters and 1 sushi chef and 1 chef in the kitchen. That's all.
And the 2 waiters, they're the individuals who are serving alcoholic beverages?
No, just me.
Just you? You're the only person on site who's going to be serving beer and wine?
Yeah, because she just wrapped the order, do the carry out.
Okay.
Helping
Okay.
with
Okay. And when the pandemic ends eventually, are you planning on hiring more staff members? If you can increase the capacity, I think you guys have over 20 seats. Are you and restaurants open up to full capacity? Are you planning on hiring any additional staff members in the future?
Don't have that plan yet.
Okay. Okay.
Because we're just opening, so not that busy.
Sure.
We don't need much people.
Okay. All right. Any additional questions from any board members?
Can you tell us the dates when you expect to have most of these issues resolved that you spoke of today?
So this question for me, sir.
Yes.
I talked to my client this afternoon. I think for the zoning approval and for the food menu approval, these 2 things, my client, Ms. Meng-Ting Fan, she could resolve it as soon as possible. But I don't have the specific date. But I believe it should be within her control because she can urge the city and urge the health department to get those things done quickly. But for the old tax issue, because this is the previous restaurant, I guess my client's role is only to urge them to pay it as quickly as possible, but it is beyond her control. It is eventually up to the previous restaurant owner when they're gonna pay it. But because it gonna affect my clients, the speed of the issuance of the alcoholic beverage license. I think she should be able to urge the owner of the previous restaurant. Am I correct, Ms. Meng-Ting Fan?
Yes.
Did the city give you? Did Ms. Lisa Minker give you a specific date for the final inspection?
No.
But you already emailed her, urged her to do it as quickly as possible, right?
And I provide all the documents they need, like Pombre license certificate, something they can check.
Okay, and for the menu, for the food menu, the schedule is December, the appointment is December 8th, 2020. And if everything goes smoothly, you should get it approved on that day, correct?
Yes.
Yeah, so that's the situation for the remaining issues.
So let me just bring something up here. I mean, if I'm hearing this correctly, if there are taxes that are owed by the previous owner, that has to be clarified and fixed first before we can even make an approval. Is that correct, City Attorney Lyles?
Yes, ma'am, that is correct. What happens is they can handle it however they want to handle it, but if the taxes are due, the taxes flow with the property. So if the taxes are not paid, then essentially the liquor license can't flow to the new owners at that property. All fines, taxes, fees, levies of all kinds by the city have to be paid. They can pay them and then sue the previous owners to recover their funds, but they can't insist that they pay and then get a license to serve alcohol, because that, so unfortunately, that's the position they're in.
So, I'm sorry. Can I just ask?
I would suggest at this point that all of these issues, I would suggest that any approval of this transfer would be contingent upon the satisfaction and the approval of all of these issues that we've discussed here tonight. In other words, Cindy will not be able to issue a license, or the city clerk cannot issue a license until all of these issues, the taxes, the zoning, the health department, all of these issues should be satisfied prior to a license being distributed.
Right. So any motion would be made with the contingency that all of these deficiencies be corrected prior to the issuance of the transfer.
Correct.
Okay, may I ask a question? Actually, am I even on? Yep, I am. So are they currently open? Is the business are they currently serving
Yes.
food? Okay. I have to ask, are you currently serving alcohol?
No.
Okay. Okay. I just wanted to double check because yeah. Thank you.
And Madam Board Member, they have a management agreement.
Okay.
So technically, they could serve alcohol under the current license and the current corporate structure that exists on the property.
Wonderful. Okay.
But they're not doing it, but they could.
Okay.
The taxes would still be owed, but the old business still has a license. And unless it lapsed, they still can enjoy the privilege of having that license, even though they owe taxes. Now, to the extent that the transfer is in operation, then everything stops with the transfer and we start again, meaning they have to have all the liens, debts to the city and all that paid before the transfer can take place. And that's where the board comes in.
Thank you for clarifying that for me. Thank you.
So was that a motion by Mr. Harris?
We can turn it into one.
I second it.
Right.
Claire, do you want to make the formal motion for the record?
I'm sorry, repeat.
Yeah, I've said, do you want to make a formal motion for the record?
I will. I move that this transfer application be approved only with the contingent that all issues that we have discussed here tonight, the tax, zoning, the health department, all of these issues must be satisfied with the deputy city clerk prior to an issuance of the transfer.
Second.
Okay, motion has been made and seconded. All those, any additional discussion? All those in favor of the motion, please signify by saying aye.
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 No opposition. This request is granted with those certain contingencies needing to be met before the transfer is finalized. Mr. Lyles.
I am sorry, but I think, do you want to put a date on that? How many days or months do they have to do that? Or do you want to just have it on your agenda for the next month?
Why don't we put it on the agenda for next month just to see where we are? I know the holidays are coming up, so I don't know how quickly they're going to be able to get the final inspection for zoning. The taxes are the real anomaly. I have no idea. Cindy? Yep, go ahead.
Well, by code, they have 6 months to effectuate the license, and they can choose a date from for what point they want the license to be picked up. Or if they don't choose a date, it goes by the date of this meeting.
Okay. Do you guys have a specific date that you want the license to be picked up?
I guess what makes the most sense here.
So Cindy, let me get that straight. So they have 6 months to do all of this stuff. If they don't do it, if they don't do it in 6 months, then there will be no license issued.
Well,
You
they
have
have
to tell
6 months to pick up the license or to come back before the board to apply for an extension
Gotcha.
of
Okay.
approval.
All right. Well, never mind, Mr. Chair.
Okay,
I think
sure,
we're clear now.
Sure.
All right.
Okay. Well, then, if motion's been moved and seconded and everybody's approved it, the request is granted. You got 6 months to get the ducks in a row.
She's on mute.
Yeah. And she's up next too. All right, well, I'll just call the next item on the agenda. The next item is a request for the board's approval of an interim alcoholic beverage license management agreement by DF Shika Inc., trading as Shika Sushi and Ramen. This was preliminarily approved administratively and is really now before the board for consideration and final approval. We have the same people here for DF Shika Inc. So again, for the record, if anybody who's going to be testifying could please raise their right hand so I could swear them in. Do you solemnly affirm, under the penalties of perjury, that the testimony you're about to give is true and correct?
Yes.
Okay. Cindy, do you need their names and addresses again for the record? Okay. All right. All right. So please talk to us about this interim management agreement if you have anything to add. Ms. Gu?
你打他电话嘛，打出去啊。我也是很醉。
It's school. We can't hear you.
Yeah, can't hear a thing.
Now, can you hear me?
Yeah.
Now,
Can you turn the volume up?
yeah, I can hear you guys clearly. I think the volume is okay. I don't know what happened. I'm sorry.
Okay.
I don't know. Yeah, so Chairman, your question again?
Sure. I was just saying, we have administratively approved the interim management agreement. It's before the board for final approval. So I just wanted to see if there's anything you want to add, if you want to walk the board through this particular management agreement and its purpose.
As I said before, this management agreement is sort of a required procedure for license transfer. So that's why we did. And as my client just said, they just don't have any intention for any alcoholic beverage transactions until the time they get their own license. So that's the situation. Another board member, I think it's Ms. Conger, she just asked my client whether they sell the alcohol, and she answered no. So that's the issue I want to make it clear. We have that temporary management, but they don't have any intent to do any alcoholic transaction during this transfer period.
Okay.
So that's the point I want to make it clear. Yeah.
Okay.
Okay. Thank you.
And even though your clients are not planning on selling any alcohol, you still want the final approval from the board just in case?
Yeah, I think it's better if you could approve.
Sure.
Sure. Yeah, I appreciate.
Do any board members have any questions about the management agreement?
No.
No questions? Okay. Well, then, do I hear a motion for final approval of this interim management agreement by DF Shika Inc., trading as Shika Sushi and Ramen?
For approval, Mr. Chairman.
A second.
Motion has been moved and seconded. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 No opposition. This request is granted. All right. Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you.
Okay. For the next item, I have to recuse myself. So I've asked Vice Chairman Harris to take over and to address the third item on tonight's agenda.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you.
We have an application for an upgrade of an alcoholic beverage license from a B4A to a B4ABG, beer, wine, and liquor, on sale 6 a.m. to 12 midnight, 7 days per week. Special Sunday license. In addition, off sales as authorized Monday through Saturday during hours. In addition, off sale Sunday during authorized hours. Special Sunday license. In addition, refillable container with current off sale privilege by Camden Baldwin for Forward Brewing LLC, trading as Forward Brewing, located at 418 4th Street, Annapolis, Maryland, 21403. And I would like to ask the representatives from Forward Brewing to please identify yourselves. If you have an attorney present, that Mr. Dale. Okay.
Good evening, Vice Chair Harris.
Hi, sir.
How are
I would
you?
like to ask Mr. Bowden is the only other person, that's correct?
That's correct.
Okay. Mr. Bowden, if you plan to testify, I would like to ask you to please raise your hand and I will issue the oath. Do you solemnly swear and affirm under the penalty of perjury that the testimony you are about to give is true and correct?
You're muted, Kim.
I do.
Thank you, sir. At this time, I'd like to ask you for your full name and address, please.
Camden Chase Bodrin, 126 Smith Avenue, Annapolis, Maryland, 21401.
Okay, thank you. Okay. Mr. Dale, you may begin your presentation. Just kind of tell us why you're here tonight.
Thank you, Mr. Vice Chairman. Good evening to the members of the board, Ms. Gaines and Mr. Lyles. As Vice Chair Harris said, we're here applying for the B and G suffixes to the existing B4A license. Respectively, those two provide for off sales on Sunday and for the sale of off sale and refillable containers. Both of those activities are currently also provided for in the executive order related to the COVID pandemic. And it was suggested to the applicant by letter from this board that we apply for the additional licenses that cover those activities before the pandemic ends. And so that is why we're here tonight. And if it is all right with the Vice Chair, I will ask some questions of Mr. Bodrin to provide additional information about the activities those suffixes cover.
Please proceed, Mr. Dales.
Thank you. So Mr. Bodrin, just some background questions quickly, and then some questions about these activities covered by the B and G suffixes. You've already given your name and address for the record, so just to confirm that you are the owner of Forward Brewing, the holder of the license, and the applicant tonight.
Yes, I am.
Thank you. And so you're also responsible for the day-to-day activities and operations of the business, correct?
That's correct.
Could you give us a brief description of Forward Brewing operations as a restaurant with an accessory brewing use?
Yes, we are a small restaurant. We have a pretty small kitchen in an interior that really hasn't been seen by our customers. We produce beer in the back of the building, which we sell through our restaurant in the front, actually through a window at the moment. And we are typically open from noon, 11 on weekends until 9 o'clock 8 o'clock on Sunday. We currently are selling for our outdoor dining space and for carry out.
Thank you, Mr. Bodrin. And when did Forward open and pick up its current license?
May 16th.
So that was right in the heart of the first wave of the pandemic, wasn't it?
That's correct.
And could you tell us a little bit about what it's been like operating under the pandemic conditions?
It's been interesting. We haven't really known anything else. So I don't have much to compare it to as far as business, but we opened with carryout only, which was working pretty well. And then outdoor dining became an option. So we quickly opened, put together some tables and started doing outdoor dining.
What's this response been like from the community? Have you been fairly busy under the provisions allowed by the Recovery Zone's executive order?
Yeah, it's been great. We got to meet a lot of our customers for the first time. We've had a lot of business as long as the weather's been good. We've sold a lot of carryout, both food and beer. Yeah, it's been.
So far, all the beer you're selling is beer brewed on premises, correct?
We are selling beer brewed on premises in the refillable containers and our crowlers, which is essentially a can that is filled from our drafts. And then we're also selling 6-packs and wine. The 6-packs are contract brewed, and the wine we purchase.
I think for the board, the beer that you're selling is brewed either under, it's brewed under your M7 license, which is the state manufacturing license, correct? You're not selling other beer at this time.
No.
And could you also tell the board, where you have just very general description of the restaurant's operations and where people are currently sitting, standing under the executive orders and what you have to do to sort of manage the crowds at the moment?
Yes, we have seating on our porch, which is actually covered by our liquor license. And then we also have seating in our driveway, our tables in our driveway, and just around the back of our building. We have a hostess or host who seats everyone, and either I or my wife are typically out there trying to make sure everybody stays in their seats or stays in their spaces around their tables, and keeping pretty good mask discipline. It's been challenging, but I think it's working pretty well.
And so under the pandemic conditions, which present, of course, the economic challenges we're all familiar with, you have had sort of the silver lining of good response from the community in these outdoor dining areas, and you've been abiding by all the executive orders from the governor, county executive, and our mayor. Can I ask you if you had any violations of your liquor license since it's been issued?
No.
Thank you. And you've already told us that you sell beer that's brewed on the premises in refillable containers, your crowlers. You also have several other types of containers, but let's just say you are selling them in refillable containers. Have you found the demand for that to be steady and consistent across all 7 days of the week?
Yes. We're closed Mondays and Tuesdays, but I'm sure the demand is there. But yes, it's been pretty steady, and particularly now as the weather's changing, we're selling a lot more to go.
And for all of your sales, has Sunday been any lesser of a demand day than your other days of the week?
No, I don't think so. I think if anything, people are more likely to want to take food and beverages home to enjoy either at home or wherever they're going. So
okay. So I think for the board's information, the off sales of through both cans and refillable containers has been strong activity on the Sundays that the B license would cover. Correct?
Yes.
Okay. Members of the board, in our application package, we submitted a statement in support of the application and noted the provisions of the state code as they relate to holders of an M7 license. However, we also believe that consistency and a little bit of redundancy in having the licenses which cover those activities from the city is not only permitted by law, but I think desirable for both our sake as applicants and for the city's enforcement of the city's rules for retail license holders. I think that it is in all of our best interest that we apply for these suffixes, and belt and suspenders are right to sell beer in refillable containers and to make off sales on Sundays pursuant to the B license. So with that, I'll conclude our presentation and ask for any questions from members of the board or the vice chair.
Thank you, Mr. Dales. Does the board have any questions of this applicant?
So I think you've already pretty much answered this, Mr. Dales and Mr. Bodrin. Have there been, not that it's necessarily a responsibility, but have there been any issues so far? And I know, you know, pandemic related, this is not a normal time, but have there been any like traffic flow issues with like getting people into your seating arrangements that you have located, you know, on the side of the brewery? I mean, has there been any issue that impedes traffic whatsoever, whether it's walking traffic or driving?
Mr. Bodrin, I think that's a question for you. And I just, I would add to the question with you know, probably a good good thing to describe is the process that you and your hostess have had in admitting your customers and taking their names and asking them to wait in a particular area.
Yes, so we have a waiting area in our space, which is alongside the building. I've put together what I call corrals, but they're little roped off areas that are spaced out so that parties can wait in their designated corral and know that they have a place, that they're not moving around freely.
That's for social distancing, correct?
Yes, and also to keep anything clear and spaced. If that space is full, because we do have a limit there, we take names and we keep them outside of our space just to maintain order inside.
I think generally, Ms. Bakersfield, to my knowledge, and speaking with the applicant about this, there haven't been any problems with traffic and inside the restaurant with regard to the public safety and welfare obligations of the applicant. They're doing all the right things to keep people socially distanced and safe.
Yeah, and I think we're very careful to not allow alcohol outside of our space. So we keep those people inside that are enjoying any alcohol.
Thank you. And Mr. Dales, it's Baskerville. Happens all the time.
I'm so sorry.
No, it's all good. It's all good. Thank you, guys. I appreciate it. You answered my question.
Mr. Bowden, have you had a chance to really familiarize yourself with the laws as they relate to refillable containers? It's fairly new to most who are in the business, and I think Mr. Dales in his letter stated that there are a few other in the city, but the fact that they have to be filled and resealed and those types of things, are you aware of that, and are you taking steps to ensure that this does happen?
Yes, I think we've actually been pretty strict about it. at least our customers have told us that we're pretty strict in which containers we will fill and how we seal them and how we label them and what information has to be on the container.
Mr. Bodrin, I think it would also help Vice Chair to hear about your policy and which beverages you'll allow to be consumed, which containers you'll allow to be consumed on the premises, although it's not a requirement. For clarity's sake and your ability to keep track of everyone, what is your policy about what's consumed on premises, what may be taken off premises?
Draft beer, which would be 16-ounce pours or 10-ounce pours that are in a open compostable cup, are allowed to be consumed on premises, and same with our canned wines, but we open them for the customer.
And it's your policy not to allow people to consume the refillable or cans that that you sell for off sales. You don't allow those to be consumed on premises directly from those.
Right. All 6-packs, 32-ounce refillable containers or our crowlers are for to-go only, and our servers, for the most part, tell every customer that either when they order or when they pick up. And we do that just because it's designated to be to-go beer. We report it differently. So,
thank you very much. Does the board have any additional questions? Mr. Dales, would you like to add anything to your previous testimony?
Mr. Vice Chair, I think that'll conclude our case, and we thank you and other members of the board, the city attorney and Clerk Gaines, for your help with this application. Thank you.
At this time, I'm going to just restate what the chairman stated at the beginning of the meeting, which is that if there is anyone from the public who would like to submit testimony regarding this request, we do have a website whereby you can provide written testimony. So if you would submit that testimony to www.annapolis.gov/ABC, it will be recorded as a part of this hearing. Okay. Do I hear a motion regarding this request for an upgrade of an alcoholic beverage license from B4A to B4ABG, beer, wine, and liquor on sale 6 a.m. to 12 midnight, 7 days per week, special Sunday license. In addition, off sales that's authorized Monday through Saturday during hours. In addition, off sale Sunday during authorized hours, special Sunday license. In addition, refillable container with current off sale privilege by Camden Bowden for Forward Brewing, LLC, trading as Forward Brewing, located at 418 4th Street, Annapolis, Maryland, 21403.
Motion to approve.
I'll second.
The motion has been properly moved and seconded. Does the board have any additional questions or comments? Hearing none, all those in favor of the motion, please signify by saying aye.
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 Sir, your request is granted. Congratulations.
Thank you all. Have a good evening.
Thank you.
Having said that, I declare the public hearing closed and return the gavel to Chairman James Praley.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Harris. I appreciate it. With the public hearing being closed, we now turn to business and miscellaneous. Our real only order of business under this section of tonight's agenda is a written request for a final 6-month extension on the pickup date of a previously approved alcoholic beverage license for Church MRG LLC, trading as Gibellina, located at 18 Church Circle, Annapolis, Maryland, 21401, and I see Mr. Hyatt here for the applicant. Mr. Hyatt, good evening.
Good evening.
Tell us what we're here for tonight.
All right. Good evening, Mr. Chairman, members of the board. Thank you for the opportunity to address you tonight. This is a matter that was approved, I guess, I forget how long ago it's been, but it's been a couple of years since we obtained a special exception approval for what's known as a standard restaurant at 18 Church Circle. And that is the property that formerly housed Annapolis Bank and Trust, and then subsequently PNC Bank. We had an extension after the license was granted because there was extensive work that needed to be done on this property. These were 3 structures that were built in the 1700s, and all the work on the interior, structurally speaking, had to be done by hand, and it was an extraordinary task. So we came back to you and asked for a 6-month extension. And then, of course, we came upon the COVID difficulties, and now we're asking for another extension. And I want to tell you that the Board of Appeals granted our extension. That they have similar rules in terms of the validity of a special exception when it has to be established. And what the board did, the Board of Appeals, that is, what the Board of Appeals did is extended for 6 months from the expiration of the state of emergency. And although my request to this board was for 6 additional months, because your rules allow for 2 6-month extensions, I would amend that request to have it coincide with what the Board of Appeals did, if you're willing to do that, because I think we're under the state of emergency. I think there's a tolling of these statutes and rules. And to be perfectly honest, I'm not sure as we sit here today whether this place can really open up by April 1st. And if it doesn't, and our 6-month expires, our second 6-month request expires, then that license lapses and we'd have to apply for a new license. So I would respectfully ask the board to consider mimicking what the Board of Appeals did by granting a 6-month extension from the termination of the governor's emergency order.
Mr. Lyles, that's permissible, you think, to grant a 6-month extension from the termination of the state of emergency?
It is permissible.
Okay.
6 months, if it may be prudent to ask the applicant whether there are plans to move quickly to do all that's necessary. I'm not so sure, based on my understanding of the applicant's situation, that the facts are such that they can't do what they need to do. So I guess I'm confused at why they need all of that time, which is probably going to go into next year, plus an additional 6 months. So maybe Mr. Hyatt can answer some questions related.
Sure. Before we even turn it over to questioning, I just wanted to make sure that it's within this board's ability to consider the request,
Sure.
Mr. Hyatt. But
it is, yes.
Okay, excellent. Thank you. Mr. Hyatt, I'll just echo what the city
I can try to address that. I think the reality is these applicants are in the restaurant business. They have several locations in Washington, D.C. They're certainly experiencing financial stress right now. And it's hard to say when they will, undertake the continuation of the build out. Most of the structural work is done. The landlord on this property has done a significant amount of work, but when the problem of the pandemic hit, the restaurateurs slowed down and then ultimately stopped. They haven't done any more work in recent months because, for financial reasons. They don't see the light at the end of the tunnel yet. So, the idea is that when the emergency is lifted and it looks like it's all clear, restaurants will be able to open, then they'll go forward, presumably, and I think they'll need every bit of 4 or 5 months to do that build out work. So that's the position they find themselves in.
Does the board have any questions for Mr. Hyatt regarding this request? Okay. Hearing no additional questions, does anybody care to make a motion or discuss the amended request seeking to extend pickup date 6 months from the termination of the state of emergency?
I heard you.
Yeah.
Did he ever stay home?
Nobody cares.
Mr. Chairman, I move that Mr. Hyatt's request to amend his request to coincide with the end of the current COVID-19 situation. I'm probably not going to say this right, but I think he's asking to have his 6 months start at the end of this emergency situation. So understanding it that way, I move that his request be accepted.
Do I hear a second?
Second.
All right, motion has been moved and seconded. Any additional discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 All right, very well, Mr. Hyatt, your request is
All
granted.
right, well, I thank you. My client certainly appreciates it, and hopefully they'll be able to go forward when all this mess gets concluded.
Wish him the best of luck.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
All right,
Best of
thanks.
luck.
Okay, good night.
Okay, the next couple items up for discussion need to be addressed in an executive session. So I would move that we terminate this and reconvene in an executive session. There, a second?
Second.
Second.
All right, motion has been moved and seconded. All those in favor?
Aye.
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 Okay.